Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to this productivity talk by the Asian Productivity Organization. I'm Gözde Bosnalı from the APO Secretariat and today's moderator. The APO is an international organization committed to improving productivity in the Asia-Pacific region. The APO Talks are a platform where innovative ideas for productivity enhancement are addressed by experts, practitioners, and academicians. Before we start, I would like to thank our viewers for following us. To learn about upcoming Talks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can leave your comments and questions in the chat box, and we will answer them after the session. In this Talk, we will explore the role of capability maturity models in driving organizational growth, digital transformation, and sustainable competitiveness. By adopting maturity models, organizations can systematically measure progress, align with best practices, and sustain long-term innovation. Dr. Guven Gurkan Inan from Scotland will lead a thought-provoking discussion today on how businesses can assess, benchmark, and enhance their capabilities using structured maturity frameworks. Dr. Inan, good morning. Welcome to our studio. It's a real pleasure to have you with us today.
Morning, Miss Gözde.
Thank you so much.
For me as well.
Thank you. Before we start, let me share a little of your background with our viewers. Dr. Inan is an assistant professor of operations management at Edinburgh Business School in Heriot-Watt University. His research focuses on enhancing organizational capabilities in manufacturing SMEs with a strong emphasis on digitalization and sustainability. He holds a PhD in management from the same university, along with degrees in logistics, operations management, and industrial engineering. His work bridges theory and practice, leading impactful research projects. Through his hands-on approach and deep commitment to knowledge exchange, Dr. Inan is helping businesses build practical roadmaps for digital transformation and sustainable growth. Dr. Inan, I'm very eager to learn more from you about today's topic, and I know that our viewers are too. Please start your presentation.
Thanks, Ms. Gözde. Okay, my name is Guven Gurkan Inan, and as Ms. Gözde explained, I'm an assistant professor of operations management at Edinburgh Business School at Heriot-Watt University, and my research focuses on manufacturing industry, how manufacturing SMEs build capabilities to compete in their marketplace. And today I will dive into maturity models in enhancing business performance with exploring different type of maturity models and how to select one, and then explain our own model briefly, and then have your questions. And today's content is about capability maturity models. What are they? How we can use them, and why we need them, and then how we can develop a capability maturity model and key digital maturity frameworks in the marketplace, and again custom maturity model DDX-EBS is our own capability maturity model, combined two model, and then eventually we will have a Q&A session. When you look at the capability maturity models, it's first developed for software engineering in 60s, 70s, and 80s. And in that field, the software development was a very complex process. And then dividing it into the 2, 3, 4, 5 maturity levels helped them to manage that software development process much better, so they can go build on each level. And then what happened, it's evolved and applied in different domains, in manufacturing, business process management, in supply chain management, in digital transformation, and cybersecurity. If you look at cybersecurity, you're going to see, because it's very linked with the software development. What are maturity models? Maturity models can be described as a structured evolution of an entity over time, which can be organization, a process, or a function. They provide a framework to assess and benchmark maturity level of a process, helping an organizations to identify their strengths and weaknesses. A maturity model consists multiple levels, usually from initial ad hoc to optimized or perfect, You can define it level 1 to 5. You can define it basic to leading. It's up to you. But the levels indicates an evolutionary stage of improvement. So if you are in level 2, we measured at level 2, you need to jump in level 3, and we provide you interventions that can help you to go level 1 to level 3. How these things are used, they usually help organizations to measure their own progress and then set improvement targets in various domains, including in IT, project management, and business process management. They facilitate benchmarking by allowing organizations to compare their capabilities with industry and best practice. The biggest mistake we see in industry, when they measure their performance, they don't benchmark or they don't compare with anything else. For instance, if your score is 2.5, this is a question that it comes from industry a lot. It doesn't represent anything if you don't compare it with anything else. If you can compare it with your previous measurement in 2 years ago, and if you improve it, it's a progress and it's good. If you compare it with industry, that's the best benchmarking option. You can actually see what that 2.5 means. If industry average is 3.0, it means you are below your market, your industry average, and you are losing your competitiveness over time. But if your industry is 2.0 and you are 2.5, it means you are ahead of your industry, and it's a great score. And if you can continue to build up your digitalization or whatever you measure with your maturity model, it means you are going to be even in more advanced than your industry, because while your industry is evolving, you will continue to evolve. So this is how we use it. And maturity models serve as a tool for systematic performance evaluation, guiding decision making and resource allocation. So whatever we try to do in SMEs especially, we are trying to develop the data-driven decision-making models so they can make much better decisions, more accurate decisions, and impact their growth and sustainability in their marketplace. Why they are important? As again, if you cannot, it's coming from performance measurement literature. If you cannot measure something, you cannot manage it. So first of all, it's for performance improvement. If you apply maturity models, it means you have a driver to improve your performance. So this is a first stage for you to see where is your current performance, current maturity levels are. The second one, you can make strategic decisions based on your maturity model assessments. The third one, standardization and benchmarking. It helps you to create a common language. That's why usually there's a government supported maturity assessment or a readiness index, like APO index. I will come back later on. Or it's for organizational learning. So you can structure, you can use this structured approach, then create interventions about if you need a skill set, you can develop your own skill set in-house. You can contact with consultancy, you can contact with academia, or you can attract new skill set into the company, so you can create an organizational learning pathway there. The critical question here is how we can develop a capability maturity model. It requires a structured and iterative approach, so we can ensure that it's reliable and its validity is approved and it's practical. It has practically applicable, right? Based on literature, we have this 7-stage model. First of all, we need to define why we need this maturity model, where we're going to use it, right? So identify the domain or capability maturity model will be developed, and then we define the problem, and then we are going to start engaging the who's going to be in that team to create this maturity model. Then select the second stage, we need to select the approach, development approach. It can be from top down. It means first define the maturity stage, then establish dimensions and measurement criteria, or bottom up approach, identify key metrics and behavior first, and then categorize them, or hybrid, combine both elements. But it's up to team and their experience usually to how to go, right? The third stage, we need to define maturity levels. It can be initial, repeatable, or advanced and leading. It's up to team again, whatever explain it better. If you look at the MRL, manufacturing readiness level, it's a European Union maturity model. It's 10 stage, 1 to 10, and they only define it with numbers. They don't use any specific titles for this maturity levels. And then identify the key dimensions. So what we are going to measure for digitalization, for instance, because I'm going to give lots of examples from digitalization because today's topic is about digitalization. And in digitalization, what matters it can be about your physical resources, what kind of infrastructure do you have. It can be about human resources, what kind of knowledge base you have, or it can be system in the organization, so you can focus on system. And finally, the fifth stage, you need to develop an assessment mechanism. Who's going to make the assessment? What kind of resources you need for the assessment? How we are going to collect that data? How we are going to analyze that data, right? So that's the mechanism. And fifth stage, we need to validate our model. So you need to run this model with actual cases. So you need to collect data from real case studies, real companies, and then reflect on what worked well, what didn't work well. So we can actually come up with, okay, this part of the maturity model is understood easily, but this one is very complex. So we need to make it simple. We need to simplify it so people can use it much better. And finally, it's a live process. Implement, iterate, and improve. You need to use this model and you need to update it by using, because every company is a different company and every company has different challenges. So over time, if you have 10 company with your maturity model, it's great beginning. But if you have 100 company in your portfolio, you start to change something because you gain experience, you know what works and what doesn't work. And this can be done with a team of experts in your domain, and you can create your own capability maturity model for whatever purpose you need it for. So it doesn't have to be only about digital tools. And now I'm going to focus on digital capability models in the world at the moment and how they are used. And the first one is DDX. DDX is a methodology designed to evaluate and measure companies' digital capabilities and maturity level. It typically focuses on identifying to the extent of which digital technologies are integrated in various processes and operational strategies. By assessing factors such as technological infrastructure, process integration, strategic alignment, DDX helps organizations to understand their current digital maturity and identify opportunities for growth and improvement. And I'm going to begin with DDX TÜBİTAK methodology. It's a specific digital capability maturity model designed for Turkish SMEs by Boğaziçi University, and it focuses on 5 different domains: product development, customer relationship management, supply chain management, production management, and organizational structure. And what it does, it has 65 questions, and it collects data about these 5 domains and measure them in 5 scale. And eventually you can see how digital technologies adopted for these 5 domains. and they tested with 100 SMEs in Turkey, and this is a national tool at the moment. The Ministry of Industry and Technology in Turkey is actually using this model to support digital transformation in SMEs. And if you, one of our Turkish viewers, if you use this tool, I think there are some support mechanisms for you to reduce the cost of this and then apply a cost cap project to gain more support from government to fund your digital transformation so you can be more competitive. The second one is coming from APO. It's a tool, digital readiness assessment tool, developed by Asian Productivity Organization and its partners, provide a comprehensive methodology for evaluating an organization's readiness for digital transformation, especially in the context of Industry 4.0. And if you look at the grades, it's defined with SMART. S is the beginner, the grade M is first use, grade A is intermediate, B is power use, and grade T is expert. To make it more phonetic, I think they use the SMART levels, but basically it measures domains, and you can have free access of this tool at APO websites, and there's a book explain how to use this maturity tool. Digital readiness assessment tool. There's a slight difference between readiness and maturity models. Readiness is usually an indexed, and it doesn't really give you the push for next stage. It just measures you. But in maturity models, there's usually the support for how you can jump from level 1 to level 2, right? And Siri is another very popular tool for large organization. It's developed by Singapore. It's developed by Singapore. It's a comprehensive framework. It's designed to help manufacturers to evaluate their readiness for Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. And it has 3 main categories: process, technology, and organization. Right? They measure these 3 domains in 16 different subdomain, let's say. If you look at the processes, they focus on operations. If your operations are vertically integrated from your machines to your ERP system, let's say, if you look at supply chain, if they check horizontal integration, do you connect it with your suppliers to distributors and the market? And the product life cycle, if you have an integrated product life cycle, you can see which material is used in which stage, how much carbon emission is created in which stage, and then you can manage it. So this is about processes in your company, in your organization. The second part in technology, it focuses on 3 sub-dimensions: automation, connectivity, and intelligence in shop floor level, right? How automation is used in your shop floor, how connectivity created in your shop floor is your machines are connected to each other, they can signal each other, or intelligence, do you have any AI, machine learning, or any other type of intelligence embedded in your shop floor? If you look at the enterprise, it's same. They look at automation, connectivity, and intelligence at enterprise level, and then facility level. And if you look at the organizations, when we talk about organizations, it's more focused on management system, management style, your organizational culture, and so on. I'm going to explain what we mean at the end with our own model. It's going to be much clearer, but it focuses on talent readiness. Is your workforce is happy with technology? Can they learn it quickly, and can they develop their skill set over a period of time? And then do they have leadership? Who's going to manage this transformation? Who's going to manage this change in the company? Because when you bring a technology into a company, you try to change something, and somebody has to manage that change very well. And then structure and management. Do you have inter or intra-company collaboration, and do you have a supporting strategy and governance for digitalization? Digitalization. This is a key word here. when we focus on strategy here, they focus on digital transformation strategy, right? Another industry popular, very, very popular industrial tool is Impulse. Impulse is designed by German government for German manufacturing and their Industry 4.0 readiness. It's an assessment tool to design to help companies, particularly in manufacturing sector again, and evaluate their readiness for Industry 4.0. This tool measures various aspects of digital maturity, including organizational strategies, smart operations, IT systems, and data-driven processes. By assessing these key areas, Impulse helps businesses to identify their current level of Industry 4.0 integration and guides them in planning strategic improvement. Right? So this is Impulse, and it has 6 focus and 6 different levels. And if you look at this, it focuses on smart factory, digital modeling, equipment, infrastructure, data usage, IT systems. It's all about physical infrastructure. It focuses on strategy and organization. Strategy is the digital strategy, the digitalization strategy in the company, investment plans and innovation management, because again, when you bring technology, you change something and it has to be innovative most of the time. So, smart operations, cloud usage, IT, autonomous processes and sharing. If you look at this one and this one, there is some similarities. See, automation and connectivity and intelligence and technology part is here: smart factory, smart operations, and smart products. See, technology part is all about smart and data-driven services and employees. See, they also focus on employees, skill acquisitions, employee skill set, right? And what they do, they measure it with outsider. It means they have no idea what they are doing in that level, and beginners, intermediate, and experienced, expert, and top performers. Again, we don't really expect anyone at SME level to go top performer on these things. Usually they need to focus on their own industry benchmark, otherwise they may fail. Another tool is developed by Boston Consulting Group. It's called Digital Acceleration Index. Is a comprehensive framework to assess a company's digital maturity and measure its progress in digital transformation. And again, you're gonna see some similarities here. They have business strategy driven by digital vision, ambition, priorities, alignment, and roadmap. Digitize the core customer offer to go market. They focus on customer relationship management part and supply chain management part here. They check their operations, they check their support functions. If you look at a company, they usually have their main operations in manufacturing. The manufacturing is the main operations and everything else is supporting that one. HR has to find the right skills, the accounting has to find the cash flow, and XYZ, right? So they separate this into 2. And new digital growth, they focus on another thing. Changing ways of working. Look, they again come to leadership, governance, and skill and people domain, and leveraging the power of data. This is something it has to come to a company with digitalization. The most common point for a digital transformation is a company has to be managed by data. They need to collect data, they need to process that data, they need to make decisions around data. And this is why they focus on data and technology in all these models. And you can see them, they are similar to each other, even though they have some differences. So it's quite normal to have differences. The Siri is popular in Asia. Impulse is popular in Germany. BCG is popular in US. And almost this GPMI is another tool, is popular in India. So all these tools are designed for a specific ecosystem. So we get this criticism why you create your own capability maturity model while there's lots of things. Yes, there's lots of different options, but it doesn't apply in my context. Think about this: food industry, food manufacturing industry, right? Food industry. It's different than OEM industry. And you cannot really go use the same tool and expect the same results. So a little bit customization. We don't create a wheel again. It's just a small adjustment on these models so we can actually improve it, right? It can improve the outcome in a specific context. And GPM is another tool focusing on global production model industry 4.0 in an assessment and strategy tool used to evaluate readiness and maturity of manufacturing process in the context of industry 4.0. And I'm going to focus on this part, the model we use, because this is tested with 36 SMEs in the UK in last 6 months, and we get really good feedback from the companies we use the model. And it's not a state of art model. We just combine two different models into one methodology and get the best out of it. And we used one DDX Turkey, the TÜBİTAK, the Boğaziçi University developed maturity assessment model to measure maturity levels. And then we also used a tool at Heriot-Watt University developed organization capability maturity model by a couple of years back. And then it completed each other in different way. And I'm going to explain it very, very soon. And the theory behind this, and we wanted to understand what is digital capabilities and how we can measure them. Digital capabilities refers to collective ability of an organization to effectively leverage digital technologies and processes in order to drive value creation, innovation, and sustainability growth. It doesn't mean a company as a CNC, 7-axis CNC, have a skill set to use it perfectly and create a capability around it. Think about this way. I give you a Formula One car. Can you compete with Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton? Probably not. If you don't have that training, how to manage that G-force, how to understand the technology. You have the technology, exactly the same technology like Lewis Hamilton, right? But it doesn't mean that you can compete with Lewis Hamilton in a racetrack because you don't have the maturity to use that capacity. And think about the other ways. The last champion was, I think, Max Verstappen, and we give him a Fiat Punto. And we ask him to race with Lewis Hamilton on racetrack. Can he do it? We don't have any we don't really think he doesn't capable of racing with Lewis Hamilton, but if he doesn't have the resources, which means capacity to race with Lewis Hamilton, we cannot manage it. And that's how we developed our own DDX-EBS model. So if you look at this model, you are going to see 3 dimensions. The first dimension is strategic assessment, which is different than the Siri Impulse or BCG one. We don't focus on digital transformation strategy here. We focus on company strategy here. Because these are SMEs, we wanted to understand what makes them different in marketplace and what's their focus. Some of them is competing with high quality, high flexibility. And if we know that they need high flexibility, high quality, and high customer service type of capabilities, we will focus on this part in maturity part and technology part differently. And if the company is focusing on cost, competing in cost, and we will focus on differently and different technologies. That's the strategic assessment. What we do, we ask them, business, what's the goal of the business? Do you have a strategic plan? what is your order winner criteria, what is your order qualifier criteria, why your customers picks you, or why your customers picks your competitor. Usually they are able to answer the first question, why customers picks you, but they usually don't know or go silent mode when we ask them, okay, your customer is selecting you because you are the best quality. Why do you think the customers who can come to you go to your competitor? They usually go to silent mode. And if you can answer these questions, you collect lots of data to focus on that specific company, which part of the capability assessment has to be emphasized more than others. So we can tailor the roadmap. And the second part, we measure exactly the same way the DDX to see the on this 5 domain: production management, supply chain management, product development, from level 1 to 5. And then we measure 33 different digital technologies, their existence and their level in the company. So they might have ERP system, but it is not connected to all the machines. It's just a management processes is replicated in the ERP, so they don't have any OEE calculations, they don't have any understanding of how much product they produce that day, so XYZ. So here we focus on those infrastructure. What we do, we usually see these gaps in the maturity assessment, the capability assessment. If a company has higher maturity, they know how to use data, they know how to use tools and techniques and technology, they have that skill set, but they don't have that data collection infrastructure, they don't have that technology in-house yet, which means they need technology. It is technological, and we identify how to say intervention around how we can acquire required technology into company, right? In some cases, they have technology, they have data infrastructure, but they don't do anything with it. And it brings us here in skill gap. In skill gap, what we do is we need to build an understanding of how they can use this technology to create value for business. So it can be training their existing employees, it can be collaborating with a consultancy to explain them how it can be managed, or it can be about hiring a skill set, right? Or most of the time in their cases, if it is a one-time problem, they go external purchase. So for instance, they don't know anything about ISO 9000, they don't want to create a quality department, they go agree with a consultancy, they come, they prepare the company to consultancy and move the next stage. So this is helping us to create a roadmap for companies, 36 companies in the UK, and we want to extend this in future by creating binary questions. What we realized, the question set here is very validated, but people doesn't understand most of the time and most of the question. And to reduce human dependency, if you can change those questions yes/no question rather than selecting a level, it may help us to identify their existing level easier. What we do with this model, we create this model on online platform. Our companies register in our Power BI supported website. They did firstly their own assessment, they measure themselves, and then we arranged a one-day visit the company with 2-3 experts in our team, and we did a Gemba walk. We talk about all these things with an open discussion, and we realized sometimes they see themselves bigger than they are, better than they are. sometimes they criticize themselves horribly wrong. So that's why we say it doesn't matter even our tool or other tools. You need to find an expert of who's going to use this tool in the company. So to summarize today's topic, the maturity models are maps, but your destination and your starting points is the key learning from this. It's not gonna give you a magical wand and I did my maturity assessment, now what? No, it's just a state of what it's just a tool to show you what's your current status on digitalization, and then it's gonna need it has to be used by experts and wise people to make it one step forward. I think in all countries, universities, if you can find universities, they can do this assessment for you with their students and themselves with much better cost, maybe no cost at all, and then you can start your digitalization journey from a point. And then selecting or designing the right maturity model is key criteria for successful usage of this maturity model. So if you use Siri in a small company, it's not going to give you too much. All your levels is going to be very low, and it's not defined for your sector, and you are not going to get too much out of it. But if you find a specific one, like if you are in India and the APO maturity model is designed by Indian maturity model on top of Indian maturity model, if you read the text, you're going to see much more detail. It's going to be much applicable because it's designed for that ecosystem. Even when we take TÜBİTAK's, the Boğaziçi University DDX model to UK, we had to change some questions about did you get grants from TÜBİTAK was the original question, and we asked, did you take any grants from UK government or support organization? So you cannot just take something and apply exactly in another context. So one size doesn't fit all. So that's the key here. And I think we can, my presentation is ended here, and we can go for the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Inan. It was really interesting and inspiring to learn about how these models drive digital transformation, how we compare different models to each other, and how it helps SMEs, how they mirror SMEs where they are in their maturity level. And now let me start the questions and answer session for a more in-depth understanding of the topic. So my first question is about you, like personally and professionally, what inspired you to study these maturity models and advocate them?
It's a brilliant question. Why we spend too much time with the companies, why we engage that much is first of all, I am a very pragmatic person. I like practice a lot, and even at the beginning of my career, I had to work for Goodyear. I loved the days I spent there as a continuous improvement engineer. These maturity models is all about how we can measure something, but it's not just a scale. You jump on a scale and then you measure your weight. Oh, I'm 95 kilogram. It actually tells you, oh, you are 95 kilogram, but if you eat healthy, if you exercise more on your day, you are going to go 90 kilogram in 3 months. So the maturity models gives you that reflection. It's not just a standard scale. And the challenge there, every company is unique, and this is also another outcome from this measurement. We measure a lot of things. We don't just measure one domain of a problem, but it is also exists. Let me tell you that, because we are in a platform of it's focused on productivity, right? If you look at lean manufacturing, there is TPM maturity models, continuous improvement maturity models. They are just focusing on this. They don't focus on anything else.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I would like to ask now about the most common challenges that organizations face when introducing these models, and how can they overcome these barriers?
See, this is the thing. The perception is a bit creating a challenge, how they understand what is maturity models. When we visit companies, especially small companies, they don't have a long-term strategic vision. They usually focus on very short-term return. But a ERP implementation, it requires at least 3 years you can get successful return. So first of all, we need to change their perception on their goals and then understand the maturity models. They might find it more academic. Yes, we are trying to make it more practical, but if you look at the Boston Consulting Group, it's very practical. It's not coming from academia, but it's probably very expensive to bring that experts into your company and make the measurement. So the resistance within the organization is the key, and how we can manage it is another challenge for us. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I understand. And another question, so these models, how adaptable them? Because there are different size of organizations or different industries. You mentioned about food industry, but how do you adapt this model to different sectors and sizes of SMEs?
It's a brilliant question. This is the thing everybody has to ask themselves. We want to use this maturity model, but is it the right maturity model for us? Is it reflecting our problem? Is it able to capture our own nature? First of all, the answer is yes, but you just need to make some calibrations. Either you need to adjust the definitions in the maturity levels. We describe maturity levels, and then you can calibrate it in the specific sector. For instance, the biggest challenge right now in Europe is life cycle assessment or carbon emission, right? And what we are trying to do, rather than creating one single methodology, you want to focus on sector specific methodology, so it's easier for a sector member to come and get it. So who manage this? Government and sectoral associations, like the Food Beverage Association. They can create their own tool. But yeah, it's adaptable, but it has to be customized in a correct way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So when customizing then, what kind of considerations should we take into account to tailor this model to this specific organization or sector?
If you are bringing a maturity model, another good question. If you are bringing a maturity model from west to east, you need to understand the cultural diversity, because the cultural management culture especially is different in west and east. In labor is different west and east. So this is one thing. If you are taking a manufacturing industry maturity model into a service industry, then you need to bring experts from service industry to understand what kind of processes or technologies exist in service industry, so they can adjust it correctly. Because the adjustment and customization is not just one thing. You need to understand what is shifting, what is changing when we take this into another context, and then bring that expertise in that team who's going to tailor it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your clarification. And now imagine we applied this to the organization, and how do you assess the performance? Which kind of indicators do you use to assess the progress after you introduce the maturity model?
Do you want the literature answer or my own answer?
Both.
Well, okay, literature. If you look at the literature, the key aspect is technology integration level and skill set. But my own observation, the biggest challenge, the goal is not digitalization. The companies, they fail that. Oh, that company has that technology, I should buy that technology. No, that company has 3 engineers who can use that technology. You don't have none. And you are in an isolated location. You cannot even attract that skill set. You're just going to bring in that technology and then you fail. So for me, the maturity part is more important than digital infrastructure.
Thank you so much. And another question, so after assessing this performance indicators, how can they ensure the improvements in these maturity levels? How can they translate it in tangible business outcomes?
Brilliant question. That's the what we are trying to do with the management team of the company. These maturity levels has to transfer into the strategic goals of the company. If you look at the Falls work from Cambridge University, they create technology road mapping, very big maps. It focus on technology, people, finance, market, product, and each level you can create a map. I invest in these people to learn lean, right? Why I need to learn lean in digitalization? If you learn lean, it gives you idea to see operations from waste minimization, and technology enables you to do it much more effectively. So if you combine these two in a long-term plan, it creates a continuous improvement culture in a company which will stay there forever. But if you just say, okay, I'm going to bring in this OEE calculations mess system, right? Sorry, it's alone, it doesn't help you. So you need to link these outcomes into your company specific goals at the strategy level, and then you start increasing your maturity levels.
Okay, great to hear. And yeah, I was also thinking now, once they do this and how to balance this approach. So many SMEs, they start with lean, as you say, and then some of them wants to jump to digital transformation. So how can they balance this maturity model with digital innovation? Or is it a relevant question?
It is a very big challenge. Peter Hines is one of the gurus in lean manufacturing and digital transformation. And Peter Hines has a paper on Industry 4.0, Lean Industry 4.0. They define lean and Industry 4.0. If you look at literature, if you are coming from lean perspective, you are most likely to say first lean, then digitalization. If you are coming from computer engineering or other type of engineering, electronic engineering, who develop these digital infrastructures, you might find yourself first digital, then lean, maybe no lean at all, because we are already developing this. But for me, it's hybrid, because lean represents the human capital of the company. Lean is in our minds. It's not embedded in the machine. It's not embedded in the software. It's our innovation skill set. So we need this, whatever we use, either with digital or no digital. So if you can combine these two and create a balance for innovation, not just digital innovation, a company innovation, you need human capital. So think about this: AI, generative AI. Is it going to replicate us? I don't think so. The source of innovation is always human. Always human, and it's going to be always human. So why we focus on digital too much and then ignore human? So lean there is an answer for we want to build our skill set, and we want to empower our people, because lean is a people philosophy. So for me, it has to be hybrid. You need both, because if you look at the lean tools, you need data, and if you have digital infrastructure, you can get much better, higher quality, higher reliability data sets.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you mentioned about people, so it's very important, as you say, even if you bring the latest technology or method, the culture of the companies are very important. So how can maturity models embed this culture of continuous improvement within the organization? How can they accept this new approach?
If you look at all the maturity models I show you, they have skill set and people element in it. And they all focus on we are also human. We are also using this digital infrastructure to make this live program at the moment. So if we don't have the skill set to use this infrastructure, it doesn't create any value. So all of our mindset has to focus on one thing: There will be a change, technology change. It will be something, but we need to understand how to use it in best way. A guy or a woman can make millions with a cell phone, right? And someone is only spending their money on their cell phone to call someone. So we have the same resources, but the using those resources is different for individuals. So if we don't create continuous improvement culture in a company, it doesn't matter how much technology you bring in, it's not gonna develop over time. So you're just gonna use technology and it's there. But if you look at Toyota today, every year they explain we improve average 8% of total improvements, total performance. So they still continue to improve their operational performance, productivity, waste, and so on.
Yeah, very important. And when we mention the culture, we should also mention the leadership in organization, which is a big part of this organizational culture, and how this leadership in sustaining this progress impact maturity models, or through the maturity models, how can we change the leadership to keep this progress?
The leadership in a company, especially smaller companies, is the key for success. First of all, it doesn't matter if it is about maturity models, it doesn't matter if it is about digital transformation. They manage the change. And you see the successful companies, they usually have a leader profile that he or she believe in something and then go for it constant. And they create a culture so they feed them. So if you look at I can give you lots of example of good leadership and bad leadership. In one cases in Turkey, a small company asked me to deliver a lean training, and we did lean training, and they asked me, can you be a consultant? The first question I asked, I can, but I need to know what's your turnover rate on your engineers. And he said, usually they work 6 months or 1 year. I said, I cannot work with you. It means that company, even if we work with them, we are going to provide them trainings. We are going to change the mentality in the human, but that human will leave the company. So there's no point for me to get inside that company and then be unsuccessful, because I can see that I'm going to be unsuccessful because people will leave before something really happen. But I also have a company in Ankara, Serka. Their leader is forcing lean transformation in their industry. And they work with Ankara Model Factory. They train their employees. They have a high school in their state zones. They invest in those kids, young kids, and they bring correct skill set in their company, and they build that shop floor, because eventually that shop floor is going to produce everything for you.
Yeah.
And this is the leadership differences, and you can see it in every country. There's these differences, and it makes what make a company successful and what doesn't.
Definitely, yeah. So we need to start from assessing the maturity of leader first.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are models for that.
We actually ask this question to shop floor. Do you able to share your ideas with your management? What happens when you share your ideas with your management? This is Gemba walk. It's coming from Toyota again. When we go into a company, if we see young people, we usually say there is not a big culture here, because people usually doesn't stay here. But if you get inside the company, you see 30 years of employment, 50 years of employment, not 50, 15 years of employment. It means people are happy to stay. So those are the leadership signs to us. So this is coming with experience. It's in the literature, and you need that expertise to bring in company. And we are lucky. We learn it from the bests here. Our professors and mentors, they help us a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Inan. Very right point, actually. So thank you once again for joining us today. And I'm sure that our viewers enjoyed and were definitely inspired by your presentation. And before closing our P-Talk, I would also like to thank our viewers once again and hope that you will continue watching us. So see you in the next P-Talk. Goodbye for now.